Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin. I'm the discipleship pastor. Some people call me Pastor Kevin. Some people call me Rev Kev. Most people just call me Kevin, though. Most people just call me Kevin. And like Charlie said, I get to share with you today, I get to teach with you this today, something God's been working in my own heart and just working in me. And it's a little different today, all right? So I'm going to talk for a little bit less than you're used to because I want to give you some time to hear from one of my friends. Her story is inspiring, and she is super passionate about what I'm talking about. And then at the end, we have an activity. So you're welcome, kinesthetic learners, right? Today is going to be a good day for you. So we're going to jump into about a week and a half ago on a Wednesday when I'm spending my quiet time or my 14 minutes. And we talk about your first 14 minutes at Church on the Ridge a lot. And I'm just going to pause right there because I want to tell you what that is. Your first 14 minutes is you wake up and you spend the first 14 minutes of your day with God. And we believe that, man, if you do this, God is going to begin changing your viewpoint, some of your thinking, which will then in turn change some of your habits and your actions, which will then stack those over time, change your destiny. Your first 14 minutes are critical. And for me personally, when I'm in my first 14 minutes and I'm reading in the Bible, God will often highlight some verses or thoughts for me that will literally anchor my day. Because as I walk throughout my day, my mind will drift. And I'll get these negative thoughts, or I'll start comparing. And if I can go back to that moment where I go, oh yeah, this is what I read this morning. This is who God is. This is His truth. These are His promises. I can refocus my thoughts and my attention on what God was teaching me that morning. It's like if you had a ship and you had an anchor, right? You can only drift so far before that anchor pulls you back. I don't spend that first 14 minutes. What's going to anchor my life? It's a scary thought. I'm just going to keep drifting. The other thing about that 14 minutes is that's when God begins revealing things to me. Because left on my own, I have a little bit different of viewpoint on life than God. God's full of love. I'm full of selfishness. Right? And so if I just go with me, the whole day I'll only be thinking about me. But I spend this time in the morning, I go, oh yeah, God is teaching me something new, something to be more like Him, something to be further His kingdom and not my own little kingdom of Kevin. And so this 14 minutes, really important what we do, but I was reading a chapter from there in Luke 22, and we're going to start there today, and I'm going to give you some background really quick. Luke 22, it's near the end of the ministry of Jesus. So He has His 12 disciples, and He's going into this final meal. Some people call it the Lord's Supper. And in this final meal, He's talking to His disciples about being betrayed, and remember me, and this is what's going to happen. And His followers began to get into a little fight. They began disagreeing with one another. And that's where we're going to pick it up, okay? You ready? Yeah. All right. So to be clear, I've unpaused my timeout on why we should do our 14 minutes, and now I'm into what we're talking about today. Are we all there now? Okay. Here we go. Chapter 22, starting in verse 24, a dispute arose among them being the disciples, as to which of them was considered to be the greatest. Jesus said to them, the kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. And so as I'm reading this, I get drawn to this line. It says, if you want to be great, be like the youngest, which is confusing to me because I'm a middle child. I married a middle child. I love middle children, right? And if I was to look at the youngest, I'd be like, that's not who I want to be like. right? The youngest, like we know if you are the youngest, hey, today's a good day for you because we're supposed to be like you. If you're not the youngest, you know what I'm talking about. There's just something about the youngest. But Jesus is saying, you want to be great? Be like the youngest. Because in that time, the youngest had the least rights to any authority. So the father, right? He's the authority in the family, and if he passes away or if he steps away, the next in line is the oldest. If you're the youngest, you have the very least right to any sort of power or influence or authority. So here, I think I can understand why his disciples are fighting. Because Jesus is talking about leaving them and going to be betrayed, going to be killed. And if Jesus isn't here anymore, who's going to lead this group of disciples? Well, the greatest, right? And so they're all fighting about it. I'm the greatest. And Jesus says, guys, what are you doing? This is not what we do. This is not the plan. This is no. No, for you guys, you got it all wrong. You need to be like the youngest. Lay down your right to try to be in that position of authority. In fact, why don't you rather serve somebody else, try to put somebody else's agenda ahead of your own, and you find a way to serve them? The very opposite of what they were probably thinking. Made me think, is this what I do? Is this what I do in my normal life, my daily life? Because I know when I go to work, I've got a whole list of projects and assignments and people to meet with and things to do. I'm not thinking about my coworkers or these other people or how do I make other people hit their goals or their performance numbers or whatever it may be. I've got my things to do and it's more than I can handle, so I'm focused on what? Me. And here's Jesus going, wait a second, that's not the plan I have for you. You're going to be like the youngest. Kevin, you want to be great? You start thinking about other people as well, finding ways to serve them. Okay? Back to the 14 minutes. This is why it's so important that we have our 14 minutes, because left on our own, we're probably only thinking about ourselves, right? All of a sudden, God grips us in the morning and goes, hey, you guess what? There's something bigger than you going on in your life. You should tune in to what I'm doing. So Jesus does what he always does. He takes our worldview and just flips it upside down. See, we don't usually just think about other people. We're always thinking about ourselves. And I want to read this verse to you in another Bible translation because Jesus is not subtle about this. So this is from the New Living Translation, or the NLT. It says this. It says, who is more important, the one who sits at the table or the one who serves? Well, the one who sits at the table, of course, right? Customer is king. And then Jesus says, but not here! Exclamation mark. It's not like he's at the table and he's like, guys, let's talk about this. I don't really know. It doesn't seem right. He's like, no, not here. I'm among you. I'm one who serves. So Jesus lays out this model for us to take on a position of serving one another, to be a servant. And for me, when I'm in my Bible study and I'm in my quiet times, one thing that helps me remember things is pictures. And so I draw. Sometimes I'll draw things out to try to help me, because I don't remember the verse exactly or where it's from, but I can remember a picture. And so this is straight from my journal. This is a picture I drew after reading this. Just because I like to draw doesn't mean I can draw well. Do you guys know what it is? Yeah, that's right. I heard people saying it. I got you. Yeah, it's a server, right? It's a waiter with some cheeseburger and tater tots, and he's bringing it to a guy who's like waiting to eat. But wait, the waiter has a crown on him because he's greater, right? You see the picture. It's like, I can remember this, right? I may not remember, oh, Luke chapter 22, verse 27. And no, but I can remember something like this. So just leave this up here for a second. Let it sink in with everybody here today, and let that picture just be ingrained in your mind. And maybe today you'll leave and you'll just remember the king waiter serving tater tots and cheeseburgers. Someone just yelled out Burger King. I did not make that connection till now, but yes, they're on to something. So I finished drawing this picture. And I hear my little boy, he's waking up, he's coming downstairs, and he's 8 years old, his name is Benjamin. And I was like, man, I'm gonna be a great dad right now. And I'm gonna pull a Jesus on Benjamin, right? I'm going to like ask him a question and then just totally flip his viewpoint and be like, no, that's not how we do it if you're a believer in Jesus. And so he comes downstairs and I said, Benjamin, check out this picture. You know what it is? He's like, I don't know, Dad. Is it a teacher, talking to a student? I was like, no, obviously it's a waiter serving this guy who's eating. It's a waiter and it's a customer. I was like, doesn't matter. This is what the picture is. Let me ask you a question. Who's greater? The guy serving the food or the guy receiving the food? The waiter or the customer? And Benjamin's thinking about it. What are you thinking about? This is like an easy question. Like, I've set you up. I'm going to Jesus you in a second here. And he goes, well, Dad, I guess the server's greater. What? What do you mean the server's greater? He's like, well, Dad, I was thinking about it, and if the server's not doing his job, that guy's not eating, and nobody else in the restaurant is eating. Nobody's eating if the server doesn't do his job. So, wow, I was actually like really insightful. Like, and he hates when I do this, but I just grab his cheeks. I was like, Benjamin, you're right. You are so smart. I was like, of course you're right, right? If the server's not doing his job, nobody's eating. And we as believers, we have an opportunity to serve the love and the hope and the joy of Jesus to people in our world, right? And when we do that, when we begin serving one another, we get to serve and people will have the opportunity to experience Jesus. And when they have that opportunity to experience Jesus, they will end up going to heaven. They can say yes to God. And in that moment, it's their choice. And if they say yes to go because we decided to serve, if they say yes, then their names will be written in the book of life. Their lives will be changed forever. There will be celebration in heaven with all the angels doing their party because one sinner has made a decision to follow Jesus. Why? Because we did our job to serve one another. And what I love about Jesus is he talks the talk, but he also walks the walk. And so he's teaching about the server and the waiter and who's greater. And he's teaching them that you can serve, but if you don't serve, who's going to eat? It doesn't matter how good the chef is. Waiter's not doing his job, nobody's eating. But if we do it, if we begin to serve, wow, people are going to have the opportunity. And just before this dinner, he pulls his disciples together and he begins to serve them. He literally gets on his hands and knees and begins serving them. Okay, this is Jesus. This is the guy that everyone else chose to follow. They didn't have to follow him. They chose to follow him. He's the teacher. He's the rabbi. He's the master. He's the God in human form. And where do we find him? Picking up a towel on his hands and knees, serving the people who have chosen to follow him. So let me read this for you. It's in John 13. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave the world and return to the Father. He had loved his disciples during their ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything. Okay? Key in on this. Jesus knew the Father had given him authority over everything. He had come from God. He'd returned to God. So what did he do? Jesus knew he had all authority. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin, and began to wash the feet of his disciples, drying them with the towel he had around them. All authority given to Jesus. So he picks up a towel, gets on his hands and knees, and washes his disciples' feet and serves them. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter said, "you will never wash my feet." Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you will not belong to me." So Peter said, "Well, then wash my hands, wash my head as well, Lord, not just my feet." Jesus replied, "A person who's bathed all over, they don't need to wash except for the feet to be entirely clean. You disciples, you're clean, but not all of you." For Jesus knew who would betray him. This is what he meant when he said, "Not all of you are clean." Jesus knew Judas was one of the disciples who would betray him, and he still served him. We are called to serve even when the people are disrespectful, backstabbing, and mean to us. After washing their feet, he put on his robe, sat down, and asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done." Jesus taught it, Jesus lived it, Jesus commanded it, to serve one another. Let me put it another way. Jesus picked up a towel. Jesus picked up a towel. Jesus, by trade, was a carpenter, and he was a woodworker. He didn't need anyone to teach him how to simply pick up a towel and wash feet. He just did it. He saw an opportunity and he said, "You know what? I'm going to do this." And he picked up a towel. Think about the timing of this. Jesus is at the end of his ministry, right? This dinner. Then he goes to the garden, and ultimately he's crucified. So what does he do? With his last few precious moments, he picks up a towel. Picks up a towel. Why? Because Jesus knows when we pick up a towel, people go to heaven. All right, so nothing has changed today. We're going to pick up a towel. And if we do this, if you and me, if we pick up a towel, people will go to heaven. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean we're going to start a foot washing ministry at Church on the Ridge, okay? That's not our ministry plan. We actually have 101 different ways to serve here at our church, our local church, to pick up a towel. I want to share with you just one example of an opportunity that I had to pick up a towel, and not because I want you to go, "Oh, wow, Pastor Kevin, you're so great." It's like, no, I need to get you out of this framework that we're not doing a foot washing ministry, okay? This is what it could look like in real life, right, today. So in the fall, we had a gap, and we needed somebody to step up and serve or pick up a towel with our youth ministry. Now, before you start judging me, okay, I'm on staff at Church on the Ridge. I get paid. I recognize I get paid to be here, right? So you're not really serving. You're just doing your job. Okay, time out. This wall over here with all the green banners, that's my job. That's what I oversee and run. Like the care team, the groups, the classes, the missions, all that stuff over there, that's my job. Youth ministry is over here in orange. I don't get paid to do youth ministry, okay? So just because I'm at the church doesn't mean I can't pick up a towel. And so I saw this opportunity, I go, man, there is a need there, and this is an opportunity for me to, aside from my job, find a way to serve. Not a convenient time in my life either. Some of you know this, but my wife, she's studying for the bar exam. So in 2 weeks, she's going to be taking this test. Be praying for her. But what does that mean for us? It means at night, she's studying, and I have both kids. So to go out on a Thursday night to youth group means, guess what? Both my kids are coming with me. And our youth group is so great. Benjamin would just go with the middle school and, play gaga ball with them and learn. And my little daughter, she's 6, she would go into my office and she'd watch Line Guard. Just a sound plan across the board, right? She's running out of the room. I'm teaching the high school. She's like, "Dad, right? The commercial's on, or the computer stuff working." I'm like, "Okay, hold on." I'm in the middle of altar call or whatever, All my point is, it's not convenient, but man, it's worth it. It's worth it. Why? Because I know when we serve, people have an opportunity to go to heaven. And just 2 weeks ago, a young man from the high school youth group approached me and said, Kevin, Pastor Kevin, can I meet with you? That very rarely happens. High school guys never just call me up and are like, hey, let's meet together and talk about life. At least in my experience. So I said, yeah, of course. And he was like, Pastor Kevin, I want a change in my life. I want to know who Jesus is. I want to go all in with him. I said, wow. So we went into my office, we started talking about it. I actually, in that meeting, tried to convince him not to do it. I said, you get, if you make this decision, that everything from here on out, you're not going to be the boss of your own life. Like, that's now the role of God. Like, Jesus is the boss of your life. You want to do something, you have to check with Jesus. So if you really want to do this, just know that it's a big change. He's like, yeah, I still want to do it. So we prayed, and he gave his life to Jesus right there in my office just 2 weeks ago. Forever. What do we talk about? Name written in the book of life. Celebration in heaven, right? Kingdom come in his life today as his life has changed. Because I decided to pick up a towel back in fall, 6 months ago. And it's cool. Sometimes you get to be a part of directly seeing that decision being made. But not all the time. Not all the time. Sometimes we serve, and it's kind of an indirect path, but people still go to heaven. Did you know that every single week, right here in this room, Ethan Benson stacks every single chair and moves all the chairs off to the side, and some of you look in on him at the end of service, and you go, oh, poor Ethan, and you jump in and help him. Thank you for helping him, by the way, right? Thank you for helping him. He's here. Why does he do that? He does that because this room turns into a gymnasium during the week, and we run sports leagues here. And people come from our community, and they play badminton, and they play pickleball, and they're in a fitness league. And somebody in those leagues from our church will build relationships with them all season long, and they will end up inviting them to come to church, and guess what? It's working. People are coming. And when they come, they sit in the room much like you're doing today, and they hear the message of Jesus, and they say, I want some of that. I want to have a life with Jesus. And then they pray the prayer, and they give their life to Jesus, and there's more parties in heaven. Why? Because somebody said, I'll pick up a towel on a Sunday afternoon for 45 minutes and stack chairs.
It doesn't take that long.
When he's by himself, it takes longer, though, I think. And I get it. There's always a reason not to pick up a towel. Maybe you don't feel qualified. Maybe you don't feel qualified, but I know if you show up, if you respond to God's nudge, he will provide you with everything you need. Because I know that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. I know that maybe you don't feel like you don't have enough time or it's inconvenient. I get it. But think about our time. You invest your time into something. We all have 24 hours, and how we invest our time is your decision. But I know this, if I'm looking at investment alone, and I go, okay, if I serve one another, and the return on that investment is what? People going to heaven? I don't know. Seems like a good investment to me. I invest my time, people go to heaven. That's a good investment of time. Maybe you can't because you have small kids. Find ways to serve with your kids or in the areas that your kids are in. Maybe you have a 1-year-old. Go serve in the 1-year-old class with your kid. There are opportunities. Here's what I know. Benjamin got it right. Server is greater than the customer. Because without the server, nobody's eating. Nobody's eating. And we have a valley, the Snoqualmie Valley. You have people in your workplaces and in your spheres of influence who need to be served. And we have to pick up a towel. Currently, at Church on the Ridge, there's about 170 people who have made the decision to serve consistently, which means every week or every other week. And if you take that number and you compare it to the average weekend adult attendance, there's about 350 weekend adults. That puts us at what? About 50%? Okay, church stats, which you can just trust me on, or I can show you later. Church stats say that if your church is at 50%, you are average. So not bad, we're average. You 170 people, thank you for what you do. You are making a difference. But then I think, wait a second. We're talking about something that Jesus has modeled for us and commanded us to do, and the results in people going to heaven. I don't know if I'm okay being at average. I think there's room there for us to step in and respond to that nudge with what Jesus is calling us to do. And so before I go any further, I want to invite Heidi Beth up. Heidi Beth is awesome. We love that you are here at Church on the Ridge. But what I love about Heidi Beth is she is so passionate about serving and about volunteering, about getting your hands dirty. And Heidi Beth, when did you first pick up a towel?
Thanks, Kevin. Hello, everyone. I picked up a towel for the first time when I was a child, and I went to a church that had around 30 people. And with that small of a number, everyone has to work together. There is no assuming that someone else is going to do it, or things just kind of fall apart. And so then we moved to Washington, and I was a teenager, and at that church I was asked to serve as like a youth representative on the leadership board.
So wait, you're saying teens can serve as well? Did you hear that, Henry?
Yes. We have teens serving all the time, especially in children's ministry. It's a great place to start. So that is, though, where I realized, we went to a larger church, I realized, okay, it takes a lot of stuff behind the scenes to run a church that large. I went to different churches, got older, assumed different roles and positions, and I really started to realize how rewarding serving is. And serving has always been taught and modeled for me throughout my life, and it's just been a very rewarding experience.
That's so good. And so you came to Church on the Ridge. You've been taught you should plug in, you should find ways to pick up a towel. And so how did you get involved here at the church? What is your job? What is your volunteer job here at the church?
So I had been attending Church on the Ridge for a few months, and I started to feel that nudge. I'd be sitting here on a Sunday morning, and I'd feel God speaking that I should get involved. And I met with Charlie a few times, and together we prayed over where God might be able to use me. And between meeting with Charlie and thinking about what kind of fills my cup and prayer, I decided to take on the volunteer director role.
The volunteer director role as a volunteer?
As a volunteer.
Wow, what does that mean?
Okay, what does that mean? So
We ask this question a lot. What do you do around here?
What is
You're
this?
here a lot, but what are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I'm doing this. So I make sure that everyone here at Church on the Ridge is going to become familiar with the opportunities that we have here to serve.
That's right.
As today. I also get to make sure that you feel equipped for your role in serving, that you have everything you need. And most importantly, I feel that it's super important to make you guys feel like you're appreciated and valued here, because we can't do it without you.
So before we move on, let me just ask you one final question. Why are you so passionate about this? Why are you so passionate about people actually picking up a towel and doing something?
Thank you. I will say three things. You will immediately feel a sense of belonging. You will find your people, your community. You will also see that when you serve, as Kevin said, lives are changed. You will find that your life has changed, and when people work together, great things can be accomplished. And most importantly, the blessings that you receive, your family receives, and that you see the people that you're touching, the blessings that they receive.
Here's why. When Jesus tells us to do something and we do it, it's called obedience. And blessings always follow obedience. And so today, here's our activity. We're going to give you an opportunity to literally pick up a towel. Okay, we have these towels all around the room. We have all the different ministries at Church on the Ridge represented at these different booths and tables. And so if you are somebody who already serves consistently, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to find your area. Don't go yet. Wait till we say go. Find your area, and you're going to get a towel from one of the ministry leaders there. You're going to write your name on it, right? We'll write your name right up here, and we're going to put it on the cross. You see what happened first hour? Man, people were responding. If you're not connected, if you've yet to pick up a towel in some way, then this is going to be your opportunity to meet some of the different people, some of the different ministries, check out what's going on, and plug in somewhere. And don't worry about the time. Don't worry about being qualified, right? Respond to that nudging that God is doing in your life. And when you sign up and you say, yes, I'll participate here, I'll serve in this area, they'll give you a towel. Take that towel up to the front, you'll write your name on it, and we'll put that on the cross. And we're just going to celebrate together because we know the more people who respond to saying, yes, I will serve, we know the result is going to be more people having the opportunity to go to heaven. So before I send you to go visit all these booths, I want you to get an idea of all the opportunities we have. So watch this.
All right, now after watching that video, if you are still feeling like, you know what, I feel the nudge, but I just don't know. I don't know where I should plug in. I don't know where my gifts and talents would best be served or used here at Church on the Ridge. I have a spot for you, so have no fear. Right over here at the volunteer banner, this is where I can meet with you, I can chat with you, and we can help discover where that is, and I'd love to spend a few minutes with you.
So Heidi Beth will be here. She's like the information center. Go talk to her. But everyone else is open, and they want to talk to you. And guys, we've built this into our gathering time. So your kids are fine. They're being taken care of for the next 10, 12 minutes. So this is your time. And when I say go ahead and start connecting and discovering and see what's available for you. And online, before you go away, stay with me. I'm going to let these guys go, and I'm going to talk to you directly. So in the room, go. This is your time. Get your towel. Respond to that nudging. Online, thank you for coming today. You have lots of opportunity to still plug in and connect right where you're at. So what you can do is you can go to our church website, churchontheridge.org, and go to Next Steps, Serving. And in that, you can fill out just a form that says, give me more information, or you can see all the different areas that we have available, and you can sign up there, and somebody here in the room will write your name on a towel, put it up on the cross for you. So this is your time to go onto our website, check out all of our opportunities, and then we'll come back when we're done. All right, everybody, let's take a quick pause here. Here's what I like. Right now, you guys are connecting and meeting people and doing a wonderful job. I'm going to close this out in prayer. As I look at this cross, Jorge, come down for just a second. Look how many towels are, wow, you went to the top there. Thank you for doing that. Just like I asked you to do. You know what this tells me? It tells me there's like hundreds of people who have said, I will pick up a towel and I will serve. This means hundreds of opportunities are coming down the pipeline for people to be able to experience Jesus and go to heaven. So thank you, church, for responding. I'm going to pray for us. When I say amen, our booths will still be open if you want to keep getting your towel and putting them up. We'll leave all that open, but you guys are incredible. So let me pray. Father God, I thank you for everybody who's responding right now and saying yes. Lord, I thank you for Church on the Ridge, that we're able to serve this community. And Lord, as we say yes and as we follow you, God, help us to experience the blessing of obedience. Help us to hear more stories of people who are going to heaven because of a decision we made today. You are such a good God. Thank you for leading and guiding our church. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, last thing, guys. Over here at the care team is our prayer team. If you would like to pray with somebody today, they're available and praying with you. You are dismissed, or you can continue to stay and connect. Love you guys. Have a great week. See you on Super Bowl Sunday.